First of all, being married for 25 years, I can tell you that 100% of all couples have this issue at some point in their marriage. And so it's very common. It's not unique to you. You're not the only one that's dealing with it. A lot of people deal with it. This is the reason why I want to choose your particular question to answer, because a lot of people deal with it. And this is the reason why predating, premarital counseling is so necessary and so important. These are the types of issues that you deal with in that stage. We understand that a lot of times that's not possible. You just can't do it. But this is the reason why we teach. You don't just marry the person, you also marry their family. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have boundaries, right? That doesn't mean that you totally abandon your family. What that means is, because families are such a necessary part of our lives and such a necessary part of our beings, what it means is when you get into a partnership, you are marrying that familial experience. Whatever your husband or wife came from, the teachings, the morale, the dynamic, the cultures, all of that is a part of your spouse's makeup. Now, the Bible tells us to cling to our wife. It says when you get married, you are to cling to your wife. Now, as I said before, that doesn't mean that you just are like, forget my family, forget my dad, forget that your mom. That means that your marriage now becomes the most necessary partnership in that whole dynamic. Which means if there's a fallout with your family, you are to choose your wife. You are to choose your husband, which is why asking these questions in the premarital stage is so important. I want to deal with this from this angle, though, because 90% of these problems don't stem from a place that we think they stem from. It's not the fact that your spouse just decided that they are not going to like your family member. Something happened. So your first line of defense is to find out information. You have to talk to your spouse and you have to ask them what happened that caused you not to like my family or not to want to be around my family. So when you go to ask your spouse, what is it about my family that you don't like? And this is so important that you don't show up in the conversation defenseless, offended. You have to come from a space of total humility and being able to accept that whatever they are feeling about the situation is their reality. Just because, and this trips a lot of people up, just because it is somebody's reality doesn't mean that it has to be facts. So their facts can be off, but their feelings are valid. So whatever it is that they are feeling, or whatever problems or issues that they're having with your family members, the way they feel about it is valid. So you have to first acknowledge that. You have to come with an open mind and listen to whatever it is that they are saying. This is so very important to deal with because, as I said before, our family dynamic is such an important part of our lives. A lot of times we have a lot of gatherings. We have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, we have celebrations, we have birthdays, we have funerals. So it is, you are going to have some interaction with your family at some point. Whatever it is that your husband is dealing with, if it is fixable, meaning if it is something that maybe you did that you didn't know that you did, maybe he felt that they minimized his efforts as a man, maybe he needed separation to be able to establish something with you. Whatever it is that he's feeling, you guys have to actively take steps to work through that. Now, this is going to require a longer video than I have time to give. But the first step that I want you to remember is you have to go to the conversation with an open mind, and you have to realize, especially if you're not in an abusive relationship, if this person is not harming you, if this person is not actively trying to keep you away from those that you love and those who love you, if you are able to check off those boxes and say, I'm not being abused, he's not trying to keep me away, he has a valid concern, your goal, your ultimate goal is to cling to your husband and to support him in his effort until he becomes comfortable. The same with your wife, until he becomes comfortable. And you know what? This is the hard part of this. That is going to fall on you. Because whatever he says about your family, you've got to then be able to address it as right to feel the way they feel, but the information may be a little bit incorrect. And then you have to lovingly guide them to the right perspective. This is what you have to do. If it is something that you did, 9 times out of 10, if a man doesn't like your family, he doesn't like something that happened that made him feel some type of way. And it's your job as his wife to correct that and to remedy that feeling for him. Say, for instance, if your husband says, I do not like the way that they make me feel like I can't take care of you, I can't provide for you, I'm not a man, or whatever. Your job is to make sure that your husband is always respected, to make sure that your language is always uplifting. And this is the reason why I say your family members should not be your counselors. Okay, your family members should not be your counselors. In 25 years of marriage, I have never once, my dad is he is my favorite person on the earth. I'm a daddy's girl, you know. Shelton is my husband. I love him with all my heart, but I am a daddy's girl. I have never once spoke negatively about my husband to my father in 25 years. I've never shared a grievance with him. That is what counselors are for. That is what therapists are for. And so you have to realize your responsibility in how he's feeling. If you have said something or if you have done something that made him feel less than a man, you've got to correct that action first. Because this is your household and this is the way that your husband is feeling. Same with your wife. If the mother, you know, there's a saying that says the reason why mothers and daughters don't get along is because they're in love with the same man. And that is very true. You know, my husband is a, mother's man. Like, he loves his mother. He loves me. And that's one of the reasons why I married him, is because he loves his mother. And that was very important for me. How do you treat your mom? Because if you treat your mom a certain way, you're going to treat me a certain way. So it was very important for me to watch that dynamic with him. Having said that, there is a bond that mothers and sons share that is nearly unbreakable. I have a son. It's nearly unbreakable. Now, because that is the case, your husband has to establish with his mother what comes first in his life. As close as they are, as much as he loves them, my wife comes first. I support my wife. This is how she's feeling. If you need to have that conversation, it needs to be clear that me and my wife, we are going to clean together. Me and my husband, we are going to clean together. So my advice to you is, number 1, to figure out what is causing it. Number 2, if it's within your control to change it, do whatever you can to change it.